Hey everybody, Dr. Kramer at Hope Upper Cervical Spine Center, and we are live with another episode of the Upper Cervical Corner. Today I want to start with a very simple question. And that question is it good? You see, for so many of us, we seek to expedite the process of accumulating the expression of health. And this is done with what we perceive to be a relatively quick fix. We're going to get out of pain, we're going to take some Motrin. We're going to lower our blood pressure, we're just going to take, a statin. We're going to control our heart rate, we're going to take a beta blocker. We're going to manage our cholesterol, we're going to, incorporate a statin into this stuff, right? All these things that we look at. If we have a neck injury, we're going to get surgery. We're going to get an injection. We're going to take a pill. We're going to do these things that will hopefully band-aid the injury for long enough that it will pass in this season and we can kick it down the road. Well, today what I want to present you with is the question that you should ask yourself when you are presented with a health-related challenge that is interrupting your normal life and the solutions that are presented to you. And that question is it good? You see, when we start to express disease or the lack of health being the optimal expression of mental, physical, emotional state, right? Then we have to ask ourselves, are the habits that I am performing on a day-to-day basis, and a hour-to-hour, a minute-to-minute basis over time, habits that lead to the accumulation of the expression of health? And more often than not, if we are to collect the evidence of Western culture, that answer is no. If we see the presentation of chronic illness in the United States, if we see the presentation of obesity in the United States, if we see the presentation of the number of people on one or more drugs in the United States, we will recognize that it's just a simple pill, it's just one fast food meal, it's just an anti-anxiety drug, quickly over time becomes a quality expression of disease in our life and in our culture, which is what we see today. And so in order to challenge that, what I want to express to you today is something that is incredibly simple when we think about our habits, and something that will challenge you on a day-to-day basis to make better decisions about the habits that you participate in when you are seeking the expression of health. Because when you ask yourself, is this good? You have to account for the lens that you are looking at the activity with, and also understand the implications of that activity on the long-term presentation of health, right? So we've been duped into believing that alcohol is good. We've been duped into believing that social media is good. That, if you want to take some prescription pills, that's going to be good. That a statin is good. That a beta blocker is good. That a pain medication is good. All these things we have been duped into believing because of our piss poor habits that we have cultivated over the last, I would say, 40 years, right, that we have been looking at on this. And so my challenges to you today are this. So ask yourself, how is my diet, right? Ideally, we have come from a place where we fast roughly 16 hours a day and we eat for 8. That's not really hard to do for all of us. You can actually just afford to skip breakfast and really only eat between the hours of, I would say, 2 and 8 o'clock. So I did that backwards. 18-hour fast, 6 hours of eating, right? And then if you think about it, we average a caloric load of about 10x your current body weight, right? So if you weigh 250 pounds times 10, you get 2,500 calories. If you weigh 120 pounds, you need 1,200 calories, right? That's a simple thing that we can start to do again that would lead to us to shrink our size of our waistline and also increase our longevity as we go about our day-to-day lives. We can all talk about sleep, right? How many hours a night are we sleeping? Well, for most of us, many of us have a really bad habit of watching blue light screens for the majority of our evening time, right? We get home, it's dark outside right now, it's winter, and you spend a lot of time binging Netflix, watching Christmas movies, which there is nothing wrong with that, right? I do it also. But something to consider is the time domain that you spend watching TV prior to going to bed. I would tell you that if you can cut TVs off an hour before you want to go to sleep, you'll actually get more quality sleep. But if you get in bed and doom scroll social media, you're going to find yourself waking up at 1, at 3, at 5, and wonder why you're not rested the next day, why your hormones are all out of balance, and why you cannot seem to actually get your shit together. I'd also suggest that we're not drinking enough water. Body weight in ounces, really simple equation you need to follow. We're not walking enough, 45 minutes a day, outside, no matter how cold it is, right? You need sunshine. You need to have it. God made it for a reason, right? These are all very simple tasks that are good for your expression of health. So what I'm trying to share with you here is these ideas that need to percolate inside of our brain as we contemplate the idea of what is good and what is bad for the expression of health. And if you start to ask yourself that question, that will lead you down the path of actually looking at things with a different lens and understanding, hey, this may not be the best thing for me to do right now. And it's going to be hard because society is going to encourage you time and time again to go the opposite route of what is actually good for you. So 9 times out of 10, if you're watching the news and they give you some health tip, the answer is to do the exact opposite thing. And it's very straightforward, very simple. And then from there, it is to lead that path consistently over time that will time and time again cultivate and generate the expression of health. So for me, the way that I look at my own perspective is I ask myself, is this good for me? And some seasons, getting ice cream with my kids is absolutely good because of the memory and the emotional bond that comes from that. But I also know that I need to allocate my caloric load so that I'm going to be eating ice cream and take that into consideration, right? So if I go and get myself a milkshake and I know it's 500 calories, I subtract that off my, 2,500 a day and I just, amend my daily load, right? All of us can stand to have a little more discipline, and all of us can stand to have the ability to ask ourselves the question, is it good? What you will find from an upper cervical perspective is that my work, or the work of upper cervical, is designed to help your nervous system operate as efficiently as possible. The true healing that takes place from an upper cervical perspective happens in the conversations that we have with our patients regarding everything that happens outside the 4 walls of our office. How you sleep, what you eat, what your social interactions are like, what are your relationships like, what books are you reading, what music are you listening to, what podcast are you consuming. All of these things play into a sensory feeding mechanism to either stimulate your nervous system for good or to inhibit your nervous system for bad. And when you accumulate the good choices over time, you will quickly recognize that you have the opportunity to have the optimal expression of health. So next time you are presented with a health-related challenge, take a quick inventory on your own habits and ask yourself, are these good or are these bad? If your bad is outweighing the good, it's time for a little recalibration, and we need to start moving some of those items over into the good category and know that in 90 days, 160 days, right, 180 days, somewhere around there, you will see a complete 180 in your presentation of health. That's today's Upper Cervical Corner. Is it good?